Earlier this year at CES, I showed you guys the fully redesigned 2020 CLA, Mercedes-Benz CLA, and we all knew that an AMG version was coming. I'm at the 2019 New York International Auto Show, and this is the Mercedes-AMG CLA 35. Let's take a first look. So by now, most of you probably know the CLA was a pretty big turning point for Mercedes-Benz in America because it was the first ever front-wheel drive car. The engine, as you can see, is mounted transversely. And for the AMG model, I want to start underneath the hood because this is the reason why Mercedes-AMG builds cars in general, the motor. Now, this car is technically not a full-fledged AMG because you're probably noticing AMG or CLA 35. This is designed to compete with an Audi S3. So what you get is a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder with 302 horsepower and 295 foot-pounds of torque. That's about a 80 horsepower boost over the regular CLA 250, and the engine is not hand built. So again, think of this car as an AMG Light. It's a stepping stone before you go into the full-fledged AMG. Mercedes will be introducing a CLA 45, which should have about 420 horsepower later this year, but that's a different review. It all goes out through the 4MATIC all-wheel drive through a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission. Mercedes-Benz says this will go 0 to 60 in about 4.6 seconds. But enough about underneath the hood. I want to talk about what's going on with the styling of this vehicle, because when I showed you guys this car back at CES, I fell in love with the design. Now, I wasn't really personally a big fan of the first generation car, but Mercedes really smoothed out the lines. They made it less droopy and less frumpy for this new generation. You can see it's got a slightly more unique grille with the subtle AMG badge. It's got its own unique front fascia with some of these fake air intakes. You've got these full LED headlights, which again look like the previous generation model, but they're kind of just a little bit squintier. They have prettier looking lights. So this car overall just looks a lot more elegant to go with the Mercedes theme. Remember, Mercedes offers 2 versions of this car. There's the regular A-Class sedan, and then you've got the CLA Coupe, which again, this is not really a coupe. Now, looking at the actual rest of the proportions, you can see the wheels on this one. Love the wheels, although I will say, they look a little bit small. These are a 19-inch wheel wearing 245/35 series tires. You can see the big AMG brakes, which are slotted, massive 4-piston calipers, small little turbo badge here. Because of the body of the vehicle, it makes the wheels look a little bit small. So I'm a little surprised that the Mercedes didn't try to go with like a 20-inch wheel. You can see they have got like this little half panoramic sunroof here, which does look good with this yellow exterior color because of the black color on the roof. And then being this is the coupe version, you've got this swoopy area here, which will cut into the headroom slightly, which I'll show you guys when we get into the actual interior of this vehicle. Now, if you want to follow me out back, the rear design of the CLA 35 is very subtly changed over the regular CLA 250. You have this little subtle rear spoiler. You've got the AMG badge over here, and then you have a nicely integrated dual outlet exhaust. I'm imagining the 45 model, when that comes to market, will probably have some kind of quad-tipped exhaust with a more aggressive sound. There's a nice little rear diffuser underneath here. Now, in terms of the trunk capacity, this is not actually a hatchback, even though, you know, some of the other sportbacks in the segment may look like that. The trunk is pretty small looking, if you ask me. I don't actually have the official numbers, but just know that if you guys are looking for a little bit more trunk space, I would probably consider the regular A-Class sedan or maybe some of the competition. So the interior of the first generation CLA was definitely not the strong point at Mercedes. They really showed off their cost-cutting measures in the first generation, but when I saw this second generation back at CES, I fell in love with this interior for an entry-level model, which again, I guess this isn't really their entry-level model anymore. I mean, even this AMG Light version, I mean, look at this interior. It looks like it belongs in their more expensive models. You have the latest MBUX infotainment system, which kind of works like your smartphone if you just say phrases like, "What do you want to do?" Like, "Hey Mercedes, find me the nearest Chinese restaurant." It should be able to do that, which I haven't really had a chance to work with the system yet. I'm still waiting for Mercedes to actually loan me one of these cars to do a full review. But in terms of the rest of the materials, you can see it's got a soft touch dashboard here with some faux stitching. It's also soft touch over here with some really interesting materials. Love the big, 10-inch displays here. You've got 2 10-inch displays, one for the instrument cluster and one for the MBUX infotainment system. You've got the same stitching on the door panels with some real metal trim. I like how they put all the controls here on the doors. Everything just feels really classy, feels really expensive. Love the new steering wheel that they put on the AMG model. It's got a flat bottom. It has really nice bolstering extensions. It's got really nice paddle shifters. Of course, you have the new touchpad over here, where if you'd like, you can also use the touchscreen over here, or you can also just use the infotainment system here. Now you can see there's the new map display. It looks fantastic. It includes things like Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. You've got dual zone climate control. You've got a place to store your phone, some cup holders over here, and then the glove compartment is actually a pretty big size, especially for a car this small. Now the seats are definitely unique to the AMG model. These are probably the upgraded sports seats, which are heated. You can also get heated and cooled seats if you like. These have really nice bolsterings. They have an extension for the thigh, and they really hold you in place and really show off the sporty attitude of this car. But this is a small car. Let me hop into the back seat really quick and wrap up this video and show you guys the space. Now, getting into the back seat of the CLA, you have to seriously duck your head because of that sloping roof. I'm short, I'm 5'7", and this is seriously a problem. So consider the A-Class sedan if you don't like that. But once you get back here, it almost feels like you're sitting in a coupe, although the space is not as terrible as I thought it would be. I don't have any official numbers for the backseat legroom, but I did push the seat up slightly. If you have it coming back more, it's gonna eat into the space. There's a pretty large hump over here that eats into the space. You got two vents over here. You have, oh, look at that, two USB ports, two USB-Cs, and then you have a, looks like an oh, this must be a European model because that's a European plug, which we won't have that here in America. There are no seat back mat pockets, which I didn't expect with the sport seats, but you do have a nice little armrest that comes down and it has two cup holders that pops up. Now, the sunroof above me is nice, but it doesn't come all the way back. As you can see, it kind of just is like a half size panoramic sunroof, but overall this interior is nice, and the backseat does hold two average to shorter size people in a pinch. Now, we don't have any pricing information on this new model just yet. The regular CLA 250 is just starting to roll into dealership showrooms. I'm imagining this one will come out probably by the fall. In terms of pricing, since we've never had a 35 model, I'm going to estimate this car is going to start in the mid $40,000 range and go to the mid 50s, because that's where the pricing is for an Audi S3. The CLA 45, which will be coming out late this year, will probably be starting in the low $50,000 range, and you can easily option it up to about 70 grand. But just keep that in mind with the pricing. This should be relatively affordable on the low end, but when you start ticking all the options, it can get pretty expensive. For Redline reviews of the 2019 New York International Auto Show, I'm Sofyan Bey.